Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Hey, Alex Simmons, it's that time again. Chris Ryan and Alex Simmons here with Tell the Damn Story. How are you, my brother? How's it going?
I am fine. I am happy. I am thrilled. I am also very warm, but that's a whole nother thing. It's that time of year. And we have another reason to be particularly excited to be gathering here today because we have the wonderful Felicity Green from not from New Jersey, not from Minnesota, not from Washington, D.C., but from England.
Yes.
Yep.
How are you? And thanks for jumping over the pond to talk with us.
I'm very glad to be here. Thank you. I'm well. Also very hot over here. So.
Oh, is
there
it?
You go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now it's a different time zone, Felicity, so it's a little later.
It's evening for me. Yes.
Oh, okay.
She's being nice. It's 9 o'clock there.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to be respectful of her time and all that good stuff because, and Chris, you should also know that she was just telling me that a family member of hers is off watching a soccer game.
Yeah. Which one?
Oh, I don't know actually what game it is, but it's the soccer European Championship right now. So
okay, part of the World Cup.
That's the European Cup.
Yeah, we watched. My sons grew up watching Italy with their grandfather, and he passed about 4 or 5 months ago. So this is the first World Cup without him, and they were watching Italy, and so I sat in with them, and that was the game just the other day when they literally tied final seconds of the additional time. And I watched my sons levitate against violating all laws of physics. So yes, world soccer.
Very exciting.
World football. Very exciting. Very exciting. So thank you for making the sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Now, Felicity is a writer of mysteries, but she is a writer of a particular type of mystery called a cozy. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's actually paranormal cozy mystery. So not just
cozy,
but with supernatural elements. So that's a separate genre.
Fascinating mix there, as I understand it. And I have a few colleagues over on this side that do some cozies. Cozies, knowing that no violence takes place on stage. Supernatural cozies. How much supernatural takes place on stage in front of the viewers or the readers in a supernatural cozy?
Well, it depends. There's some cozies where the supernatural is really everything so suffused with the paranormal. There's maybe a paranormal town they live in. There's paranormal creatures, but also it could also be just a touch of magic. Mine start out with a touch of paranormal. It's more actual pagan rituals and inverted commas real witchcraft, but they do move more toward the more supernatural and more magic as the series progresses.
Would I be right in assuming that, again, as Chris was stating, there's a certain limit to the violence or the visceral aspects that would appear in a story? In the paranormal, would there be werewolves, and if so, would any killing, let's say, that they do be off stage, or would they nibble on somebody on stage? I mean, how would that go?
There would definitely be friendly werewolves.
Friendly werewolves.
And there's ghosts and witches, but they're definitely your friendly neighborhood ghosts that help the sleep.
Okay.
So we have Casper. Not the really scary, can't sleep at night type of ghost, because then it definitely wouldn't be cozy. It still has to be I can read it and fall asleep. Read it for falling asleep type of book.
That's fascinating.
And actually, your book right now, which we'll throw a cover up, is Felicity Green's The Witch Club, a Scottish witches mystery.
That's right, yeah. It's set in Scotland. Most of my books are set in England, Scotland, Ireland, and this series is Scottish witches. And for a cozy mystery, it's very important to have a nice setting, like the small town community, maybe found family community setting. And so I have this small town in Scotland called Tarbet, which actually exists, but as far as I know, there's no witches living there. But in my books, there's this witches coven that's in Tarbet, and that's, I would say, Scotland, or the Scottish setting is almost like a character in the book, because people love to at least dream themselves to Scotland to experience the adventures with the witches there.
Sure. I'd like to just break down a little more. A lot of our viewers are aspiring writers or writers that are still finding their voice, right? So you have really three elements that I think many of our viewers would be fascinated by: the cozy, the supernatural, paranormal, and then the choice of cultural locations and settings. So I'd like to ask a question about each, if it's okay with you.
All right, yeah.
So for somebody who is sitting up listening to Felicity and saying, hey, this might be something I want to try and explore it and write in, what are the do's and don'ts for the cozy genre?
So what's really important is that the murder or the mystery, it doesn't even always have to be a murder in cozy mystery,
Right.
that it's not gruesome or explained in great detail. Like cozy mystery readers, they don't want to hear about that. It needs to be off stage or not too gruesome. And it doesn't even have to be a murder. It could be a mystery. There's a lot of cozy mysteries where no murder, like series with 30 books and no murder ever takes place.
Stolen or people disappear or things like that.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the sleuth is usually not like a police officer or someone like a hard-boiled person with a sort of, I don't know,
cigar in its mouth that needs a shave, stinking of whiskey. That's not for cozy. Cozy is like the bakery lady might be the mystery solver or something like, right?
Exactly. Usually an amateur sleuth. So they could be stumbling across lots of murders and mysteries while running a shop, while pursuing hobbies like knitting or cooking or baking.
Right.
Or they might even own a bakery or a guest house. That's very popular. In my cozy mysteries, there's a B&B where the action takes place.
Right.
Exactly. And
no, go ahead. You finish. I'll remember what I was going to say.
Also very important is animals. Animals usually play a big part in cozy mysteries. Either they're there, or they might even be protagonists and talk.
I've come across many cat cozies or a particular kind of dog cozy. Yes. All right. So Alex wanted to ask a question, and then I'm going to come back and put the next layer on.
Actually, an observation very quickly. The cozies that you talk about remind me of like the Jessica Fletcher Murder, She Wrote scenario, except the thing is, everywhere Jessica went, something happened, something bad happened. But in a cozy, when you have let's say a cottage, B&B, or a bakery or something like that, and every time something bad happens around this person, does it begin to play into the story? How come you're always finding such and such? Yeah.
It does. Because often cozy mysteries are long series. People love to stay with the character, with the protagonist, and have even lots of adventures with them. And I read a lot of cozy mysteries, of course, and oftentimes characters say, oh, I don't know why this always happens to me. Or somebody else says, oh, you always tend to be in the thick of things. What's up with you? Trouble seems to find you.
Just trying to look at you differently.
Yeah. I always thought the last episode of Murder, She Wrote would be, oh, Jessica did all these, and now we're done. Right?
She's a serial criminal. Yes.
Yes. All right. So we talked about cozies, and now I want to layer the paranormal, supernatural. Which word do you prefer, paranormal or supernatural?
Paranormal.
Okay, so
usually
the paranormal. So I would imagine, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, that the cozy mystery, the protagonist in that, either has some affinity for the paranormal, or the paranormal is attracted to the protagonist. Am I right, or is that how it works? Or
that's how it works, exactly. They either have some sort of gift magical gift or a second sight, or that's often the case. And yeah, so then that it might even be that they, like I said, they live in a world that's supernatural, or they live in like an urban fantasy setting, but we're not urban, so it's a contemporary world, a normal world, but the character has a special ability.
And now I'm going to follow up on that. We can depict, or you will depict, the supernatural, the paranormal characters or essence in the story, right? Readers will see them on stage, as it were.
That's right. Yeah.
But cozier than more vicious, right?
Definitely. There's even vampire cozy mysteries, and that's interesting, fine line to cross, because they do mention, well, you live, but usually they have artificial blood, and they don't.
That's right.
Plasma, yes, plasma bars, yeah.
And they go into the plasma bar, or they just give hickeys. That's it, just a little bit.
Well, now I'm curious, since actually you and Chris both mentioned this, what do you see as the difference between supernatural and paranormal?
That's such a good question. I'm not sure why the genre is called paranormal. I don't know.
Let me tick a few things off, and you tell me if yes, that would be included or not, and maybe we can get to Alex's answer there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Ghosts, yes, correct?
Ghosts, yes.
Possession.
No.
Okay. Werewolves.
Yes, can be, yeah.
Carnivorous, tearing apart werewolves.
No, definitely.
Right? We just, the hickey vampires we talked about. So a ghost would be an entity or presence, but it wouldn't get rabid or vicious.
No.
Right? Would it be more help in solving the mystery?
Definitely. They usually are. And witches are also nice and helpful.
There you go.
Most of the time.
Less crones, more neighbors, right?
Exactly.
How about ghouls?
Oh, not read a paranormal cozy mystery with ghouls, but I think I have heard of something like that. I'm not sure how
it would have to be,
they are.
I would imagine, Felicity, would have to be a groovy ghoulie, right?
I think I might have to write that down for a nice new series idea.
I may never forgive you for that one, Chris.
Felicity, one of the things I love to do with Alex is just punish him with horrible puns. And so
and referencing old shows puns and things, yeah.
I have to say, I forgot to say that a lot of cozy mysteries have not horrible, but very nice puns as titles.
Yes.
If you see a punny title, that's usually a cozy mystery.
Okay.
In paranormal cozies, do the spirits come for help, or do the relatives of the departed come for help, or is it a mix?
Usually it's about the relatives, like
the living relatives.
And then usually the spirits would lend a helping hand.
Ah, good.
Or help with something. In the Witch Club, which is the first Scottish witches mystery, we have a witch as a protagonist with visions. She sees departed, and they don't come and talk to her or possess her, or they're not the one with the problem. The lady who runs the B&B who has the problem, like, she helps her.
I see dead people. Yes.
Yes, but they're very nice, and they're sitting
very nice dead people.
So how many have you written, Felicity?
This series is, I've just sent the 5th book to the editor.
Fantastic. So we can safely say there is an audience for paranormal cozies.
Yes.
You skipped one of your 3 questions there, Chris.
Yeah, but I asked so many in between, and I
Well,
thought I had used
I
up
was
my
curious about
allocation.
this one. How do you use location to
That's right.
support the world building that you're doing? Because you made a reference to that earlier, and you named three very lush locations and imaginative locations.
Yeah, so that's definitely a cozy mystery trope and also a paranormal cozy mystery trope that the setting is really important. You want to have a small community, a village or a small town populated with characters that reappear during the series, like good old friends. And it's one of my things. It's not necessarily always the case because sometimes those settings are completely imaginary.
Okay.
But in my case, it's a real place. And I like to read about folklore and regional sort of legends and all that kind of stuff. So I like to build that in. And I also like to, I have been to this place, so I like to make it as realistic as possible. And it helps to describe the setting. I think people really like that about cozies, that they want to hear about the setting and they want to feel like they visit there every time they read a new book in that series.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. And Alex reminds me of my setting question. My setting question is that you mentioned England, Ireland, and Scotland. All three have beautiful visual settings for cozies, but also all three arguably have great mythology or fictional history that is rich in potential paranormal material. So what my question became is, did you pick the settings because of that rich culture? And secondly, do you pull from that culture to mix a version of that myth or this legend into your paranormal cozies?
That's definitely what I do. That's my thing. I've written in German, other books in a different series, also different genres, but that's usually what I do. I read the mythology, I read folklore, I go to the places. I often find they just have this atmosphere. I try to capture the atmosphere, and I take the sort of mythological background and make it my own and make it into something else.
I'm sorry, did I misunderstand? Are you located in England or in Germany?
I'm in Germany.
So that was my faux pas.
I usually
now
am in
he's mixing
England.
French in now.
Yes. I screw it up.
That's all right.
So are you?
But I'm usually in England, and that's where I studied creative
Okay.
writing and where I've
Where did
been
I get
to
it
the
from?
settings. Like I said, my settings are all in the UK.
Okay.
In the UK, okay. And you live in the UK now?
I live in the UK now, but right now I'm
And
in Germany.
so how about the
Those
origins?
places.
How about the origins of Felicity Green? Which country were you born in?
I was born in Germany. I
Mhm.
moved to England when I was a teenager.
Okay.
I went
Years
to
ago.
a few years ago.
That's
That's
it.
pretty kind. Only a few years
What a
ago.
charmer.
Yeah, and I went to university in Kent. I studied drama and English literature, and I always wanted to be an actress. So
Ah,
that I pursued that dream, and that's how I got to visit many places around there, because I went on tour all
sure.
around very small towns, and that's what I did. But at some point I felt I'd like more control over what I do, and so I started writing my own plays. And then I did some Brighton Fringe Festival, Fringe show. I wrote a
Sure.
play. I produced it. It was a one-woman show. I acted in it. And then I realized, and I've always been writing. I did creative writing classes and everything, but I realized I'd much rather be writing. That's the process. That's what I enjoyed most about it. And that's how I got into writing. And then I did a master's in creative writing at University of Sussex. And that's really, I never acted again. So that's how I got into writing.
With all that study and all that writing, I'm sure in the study of both Alex and I have studied. My master's is in English and writing as well. But we both know that a lot of that study is the canon or the classics. So I'm always interested in talking to authors about their personal journey from studying the canon to what they write. In your case, paranormal cozies. So what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I've just talked to another podcast host about this because they were like, oh, you study creative writing and now you're writing this. And I was like, yeah, I studied completely different material. And also I started off writing short stories, submitting those short stories to magazines, the kind of stuff that creative writing students do. And then I worked in publishing in Zurich in Switzerland for a couple of years. And I saw, first of all, what the publishing industry was like, how long it would take for me if I was to send a manuscript to an agent or to a publisher, and what that would be like. But I worked in small publishing companies, so I knew a little bit. I learned about marketing and so the practical side, not just the creative writing side of publishing. And then I started working as a translator for US indie authors. That was 2012. That was the beginning of, I think, the height maybe in the US of self-publishing. Lots of authors, genre authors coming up, and they were doing translations. That was a big thing. So I was doing translations for indie authors, and I realized, oh, there's people out there who write books, they just write them and publish them and they make money with it. That's great. It's not the writing, sending off your story or your manuscript, waiting forever and hoping and losing faith maybe a little bit. It was more like an immediate getting your work in front of an audience and testing out what do they like, what don't they like. And that was all genre fiction. And so that's how I got into reading that, translating that. And then I thought, oh, I could do that. Let's give it a try. And so I tried out a couple of different genres. I did romantic fantasy, urban fantasy, more like YA stuff. And then I moved on to cozy mysteries or mysteries, and that's how I felt most comfortable in that genre.
What was the impetus for you to try cozy mysteries? Was it that you were translating a lot and you enjoyed the stories, or were you looking at the marketing? Were you looking at the size of the audience, the dedication of the audience?
I didn't even know I was writing paranormal cozy mysteries when I started.
That's so great.
I was reading books. I was reading, and in retrospect, I know that those were mysteries, cozy mysteries, paranormal cozy mysteries, and I just liked those. And then I started writing the type of books that I enjoyed reading.
That's fantastic.
That was 2016. And only later I learned
that's a category. It's a natural genre.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And then that's years later, I started marketing those books as paranormal cozy mysteries, because now people are much more aware of that sort of genre.
Well, mysteries. Okay. Why not paranormal cozy romance novels or science fiction? Why mysteries?
I have to make a confession. I'm not a romance reader at all, even though it would be a very lucrative genre to write in.
It is one of the most lucrative. Yes. Yeah.
And I read a lot. I read almost everything, but I don't read romance. So I also write. I dabble in writing almost everything, but I don't write romance. But mysteries, I just love the sort of puzzle. I love a puzzle and guessing what's happening, who the culprit is. But I also, from a writer's perspective, I really like plotting. So I love to figure out how to plot this mystery and to figure out how do I get from here to the end. And that's a puzzle in itself.
So it's the putting the pieces together that appeals to you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But It seems to me that with each genre, there's a certain calling. I've noticed the puzzle solvers. They love mystery. The romance, you have either you have that or you don't. I can't write a romance to save my life because it's a different style. Horror, there's a different calling there and on. Once you realized this was the puzzle part was attracting you, did you write a series of what you would call standard cozies with no paranormal?
No, because I always also enjoyed
That's great.
the sort of paranormal aspect. And I actually, with the Scottish Witches mysteries, started off with the idea of writing a cozy mystery. And I just had to add in the witches.
There you go.
It's just the sort of mysterious element of something that there might be people with certain gifts, or like you said, even like a calling that really appeals to me.
That's great.
Yeah, I like the opening line because it touches on what you were saying about environment or creating these worlds and certain things coming with their own atmosphere, and then the mysterious aspect as well. The opening line of your book, the Witch Club, the Scottish Witches Mystery, I'm just pulling up to it. The boat glided across the lake as if it floated on the dense fog. And the moment I read that, there was an immediate image, an immediate, and I could be totally wrong, but an immediate time of day and a certain atmospheric element that made me go, okay, should we get off the boat or should we turn around and go back? It was just immediately setting up that mood before we got to the characters ruminating and taking in the where they are and what the next move to be. I don't want to give anything away, but just to say that one opening sentence helps set up the mood immediately. And it's just a great ability to do that. And obviously, from what you're saying, because cozies don't have the hook of extreme violence or sexuality or whatever, then I suspect that really being able to generate mood, atmosphere, feelings, settings becomes even more important, because a lot of the story, obviously the character, but a lot of the rest of the story is hinging on or relying on that ability, since you're not using sensationalistic elements to keep the reader turning the pages.
Yeah, I think so. Atmosphere and characters. I think characters are really important. Yeah, you've got to have some likable, even though there's lots of cozies are fun and maybe a little bit frothy, even though mine are more on mine aren't super, super cozy, I have to say. There's much cozier mysteries out there.
What yours is cozy light?
Cozy, more cozy, darkish cozy. But yeah, they do have to have some sort of depth and character development because they're like friends. So the reader has to have an interest in these characters. You always have to have that for sure. But I think with cozies, that's definitely the case.
How do you feel the audience within a cozy, now again, just trying to get a better handling on that, how do you feel the audience is allowed to or encouraged to feel about the antagonist? Again, in certain genres and certain styles of storytelling, you can hate someone, you can really get visceral about that. What are you supposed to feel about the bad guy in a cozy?
I think you can hate him or her. Usually there is a sort of love-hate thing going on, but also I forgot to say earlier, but the murder victim, for example, in a cozy usually is not liked. It's usually a character where it's not the feeling, oh, he died, it's a shame, but he wasn't that nice anyway. It's
won't be missed on Sunday.
Won't be missed, exactly, yeah. So it's not this sort of, oh no, this person everyone loves and cherishes and the reader has gotten to love too. They don't die. They don't usually die. That would be too sad for a cozy mystery.
Okay, all right.
But the antagonist, I think
You
they
can
can hate
despise
the
this person.
antagonist.
Okay, all right. That's interesting. There's a British TV series which has been going on for I don't know how many seasons. Midsummer Murders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really
And
famous.
the very first one it started out like an Agatha Christie kind of novel with a cozy village in England and all this, and this little old lady who goes around identifying flowers as part of a challenge with a friend of hers, and all these little elements that were very kind of cozy feeling until it got to the murders. And then eventually got to the murderers, and you found out what they were about and went, oh, okay, that went adult real fast. So obviously, like you said, in that, the first person who gets murdered is somebody who's terribly likable and you feel sorry for, and you really, some part of you gets churned up about wanting to make sure whoever did that gets theirs. So in a cozy, you don't necessarily feel that attached to the person that gets croaked, but you still want to see justice done. Is that sort of
That could be a motivation, justice, or sometimes the sleuth just that it's just the character. They need to solve this. They might have some personal motivation, some other sort of personal motivation to solve the murder. Maybe a friend is a murder suspect, and they want to make sure that they don't get falsely accused or get arrested for the murder. That's often a popular
clearing their name or
motivation.
clearing the name of a friend of theirs is a good
Yeah.
motive as well. Okay. All right. Interesting.
I'd like to take the conversation in a slightly different direction. The business end of
Right.
paranormal cozies. Let's talk first, average length. What are the readers expecting as far as how long, how many pages, how many words will a cozy mystery average?
They're usually on the shorter side, maybe 300 pages. Mine are they can be shorter than mine, which are usually about 70,000 words, but there's also shorter installments, maybe I would say between 60,000, but no more than 80,000 words.
Okay. Now you, if I understand correctly, you independently publish?
That's right.
Yes. One of the points I always try to make, I do a lot of independent publishing as well. One of the things I always try to make is you have an outside editor, correct?
Yes.
Yes, you always have to, right? It has to have a completely different set of eyes. Once you have that back and you do all the layouts and everything too, or do you hire that out as well?
I do that myself.
Yeah. What do you use?
I use for the formatting, ebook and print formatting, I use Vellum.
Vellum. Okay. I'm an Atticus guy, so yeah. Okay.
I bought Vellum before Atticus was out. And I would have loved to, if it would have been out like a year. So Vellum is great, but I had to buy a Mac to use it because it only runs on Mac. So I would have definitely tried out Atticus.
Yeah. I swear at it because Atticus, because it doesn't tax my limited technical knowledge. It's a very simple layout and all that stuff. So let's go to the next level. How about covers? Do you hire out for those?
I definitely, and I pay good money for my cover.
Really important, isn't it? It's very important to all the independent aspiring independent publishers out there. Spend the money for a good cover, right? That's the first marketing, right? They're going to see the cover, even if it's a thumbnail on Amazon or something. That's a real point of marketing, right?
Yeah.
Do you have input for the design? You say, I want this. Or how's that work for you?
Yeah, but I definitely trust my cover designer. I always say, I suggest, I would like to see this and this, but if you have anything in mind or better ideas, because what I think one of the biggest mistakes authors make, and I definitely made those mistakes in the beginning, I have an idea of what the cover should look like and what's in the story, and you get really hung up about, oh, this happens in the story and the cover needs to reflect that. But that's actually not true. The cover needs to sell the book. So it needs to reflect the genre, because the readers of the genre look for a certain type of cover. And when I looked for a good cover designer for the Scottish Witches Mysteries, I particularly looked at cover designers that did cozy mystery covers, because there's definitely great cover designers out there, but they all specialize in a certain genres. And I looked at the covers in the bestseller list, and I found out who did the covers, and that's the cover designer I hired. And I think
Wow,
it was a good. I always look for good pre-made covers because they're so much cheaper, but I can never find any
yeah.
because it also needs to reflect your story. But I would say it's good if you can save some money on that end, but it's probably not where I would save the money. That's the most important. That and the good editor. That's the main. That's the main.
You might get a less expensive cover, but it's also going to attract considerable less eyes or fewer eyes. How about marketing? Are you in charge, or do you track that out?
No, I also do that myself. I do basically everything myself, although I sometimes hire people for bit parts.
Yes. So what have you found as working for you for your paranormal cozies? Is it Amazon ads? Is it Facebook ads? Is it BookBub? Do you take billboards out? Do you run up and down the street? Well, what do you do?
So since this is my first English series and I don't have readers, what I did first, before I even published the first book, I wrote a reader magnet for my newsletter. It's a short story in the series, and I built up my newsletter with Facebook ads, and that works fairly well. But there's also there's opportunities with Book Funnel and Story Origin where you get to team up with other authors and do newsletter swaps where you mention each other's books in your newsletter, and so you get new newsletter signups. So for me, the newsletter is a really big marketing tool. So I have a big newsletter list. That's the one thing I did before. And I also focused on getting reviews for my books, and I tried out a couple of review services, Booksprout and Book Sirens, and I ended up using one of them, and I still use them now. And I think that's really great because good reviews are definitely important if you want to run ads. There's no point in running Facebook ads or Amazon ads if you don't have reviews. That was the first two things I did. And I also do Facebook ads and I do some Amazon ads, but I sometimes do them and I sometimes don't. It's quite expensive, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I do them.
I find that Facebook ads can just explode the budget. Amazon, once I started learning which combination of things you need to do, then I started seeing, a little build. The newsletter is interesting. Alex does a newsletter, I don't. So I'm always listening for what's your secret, what's your best advice with a newsletter, what works best for you, kind of thing. What would you say?
Consistency, I think, is important. I do a monthly newsletter. Whoever signs up for my newsletter, they know what to expect. They get one every month, and they also know what's in it. I usually do news and some sort of bonus, maybe a recipe, because my cozy mystery readers like that. Or maybe sometimes, if I can, I might do a short story or an outtake scene or whatever, that kind of thing. They know they get some sort of exclusive content. And I usually do book recommendations as well, 1 or 2 book recommendations.
A cozy book recommendations or books in general that you've read?
I try to do books that would be good also boards and help my own Amazon algorithm.
Gotcha.
That people buy the similar books to mine, so that could help.
I got you.
Excellent.
I just want to follow, because you started the newsletter thing. When you say that you cover news in your newsletter, are you updating them things about what's going on with you, or are you okay?
Yeah, what am I doing? A little sort of personal. I often travel, and then I put travel pictures and that sort of thing.
Okay, excellent. Social media, what is your involvement with that?
I'm not a big social media fan, so I'm not on social media that much. I don't feel like I connect well with people via social media. So I am on Facebook and Instagram, but more because I am there. It's definitely not my main marketing
So would you say the newsletter is your main marketing and then some advertising, or do
Yes.
we flip
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
noticed you only, again, you say you do your newsletter once a month, because sometimes people do it weekly or daily or whatever. So you do once a month, which gives you a chance to really pack it with what you consider to be valuable material.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is such a good idea, but I feel because there's also the advice out there that you shouldn't write too long newsletters. But I like it as when I sign up for newsletters, I'd rather get one a month from this person, and it's got lots of great content in it. I don't like it if I get tons of emails from the same person. And also I can do that. I think consistency is important, and I can do one a month for sure. I'm not sure I could always do weekly newsletters. So.
Especially since you also are writing stories too. So
Exactly.
where do you want to put your
Well,
focus?
three more of these questions. One, do you write parts of your newsletter as the month is going on?
No.
It's all, do you keep notes of this next one, I'm going to include these things and write it all at once?
A little bit, yeah. I have a Trello board, and then I have everything organized on my Trello board, and then I have, if I think of something, oh, this could go in the newsletter, I put it in my Trello card for the newsletter.
Okay. So you would dedicate a day or two to the newsletter writing, away from whatever the cozy project of the moment is.
It probably takes me a morning to write it.
A morning to write it. Okay.
Unless I have a big sort of bonus thing, and that takes me longer to do, of course.
Sure. What percentage of your working time do you put towards marketing?
That's
What
such a
percentage
question.
to? Yes.
Because
What
I
percentage?
always say,
Yeah, I'm gonna have follow-ups. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
I'd love to have more of my time spent on writing than on marketing, but as an indie author, a huge percentage is dedicated to marketing. It's difficult to put a number on it because I'm high focus, Clifton Strength focus. So I tend to write for weeks until the book is finished and not do much marketing at all. And then once that's done, I might do, right now I'm doing a course on Facebook marketing and Facebook ads, and then I'm doing Facebook ads, and I'm really focusing on that. So it's difficult to say. I always try to put some writing into my day in the morning before the kids get up, like that sort of 1 hour writing thing. But it's probably, it would be great if it could be 50-50, but I don't think it is 50-50. I would say it's probably more 40 writing, 60 marketing, and everything, distribution.
Quick follow-ups to that. What platform or service do you use for your newsletter?
A MailerLite. I was on MailChimp for a really long time until there was this big change with MailChimp, the way they charged.
It became Mail Gorilla.
Then I switched to MailerLite. So yeah.
Okay, cool. It's because sometimes people are like, which one do I use? And then that one works well for you?
It works well. What I like about it, and what's really important, I think, is that you can do a welcome sequence when they sign up, to deliver the reader magnet and to talk about your books and yourself, and before they get the monthly newsletter, so they already know you and know what to expect.
Cool.
And you said it takes you a couple of, not a couple, but you said it takes a few weeks to write one of your cozies?
I would say weeks, probably months, but I like to plot and then write the first draft in one go and hope that I don't need to edit too much of the first draft, because the further down the nitty-gritty editing it goes, the less enthusiastic I am about it. So I love to write a clean first draft. So
but that was going to be my next question. Average, how many passes through your cozies do you do? Like there's plotting and the first draft, and after that, how many other drafts?
Not that many.
Okay.
Maybe 2 more.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Are you focused on each of those passes? Like I'm looking for coherence in this one, and then I'm looking to polish on the next one, or is it I'm just going through to see if it feels right to me?
No, I go from bigger picture to small stuff.
Well, you've been really patient with all these different questions, so I want to thank you for all that.
Interesting question.
Immaculately organized. I find that sort of scary.
Yes.
I want to just go back to one other quick thing. You mentioned earlier, you sang our song, which is about the importance of character to the story. And I'm just curious, how do you develop your characters, or is it very different for each one? Or is there something that happens over and over again as you develop characters for each story?
I would love to say that I develop the character before I write the story, but I often find, and I enjoy that too, that I get to know the character as I throw them into situations. And as I did say, I like to plot, and I do plot quite a lot, but I probably only 3/4 of the book. And then I see what my character is doing and how they would end. I know what the end would be, but how would they get there? My favorite part is to be surprised by how my character reacts and what kind of person they are. And I definitely try to think of conflicts and situations where they're tested to see what type of character they turn out to be.
Who they are. Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
Excellent. Do you get feedback from your readers?
I used to do that. I used to have beta readers, but I don't anymore.
They've
I'm
all
a bit of
vanished
a
mysteriously. Yes.
I find that I'd rather have a professional editor's opinion. I love my readers, but they tend to have very different reactions. And then I feel like I need to incorporate what they said because I don't want to offend them. But oftentimes one person likes this and hates that,
Right.
and then
It
the other
becomes
person, it's too
Yeah,
many.
it becomes a taffy pull. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't really like that. I'd rather go with that's how it is. And
Yeah. Yeah, that it was interesting because your answer didn't go where I thought my question was going to lead you, but it got to what I wanted to talk about, which was interaction. Do you do signings? Do you do conventions? Do you do those kind of public appearances? And if so, I have a follow-up.
I always like to do that, but it's of course with my audience being in the US and me not being in the US.
Sure,
That's difficult. But I am more of a one-to-one person. So, and I love readings as with my acting background. I love reading. So I
so
always
you
do it
read.
when it's possible. And I guess what I like about the newsletter as well is that people write emails and I interact with them. They reply to the newsletter and it's a one-to-one, one-on-one sort of interaction.
So that'll get me to the question that I wanted to get to for a little bit of the interaction. Emails that you have received. Have you ever been shocked that, or really surprised and delighted that someone writing you an email was a big fan of a minor character you hadn't thought of as warranting a fan base or warranting that much enthusiasm? Have you ever been surprised by something like that? We want to see more of the milk lady. She's it's not that kind of thing.
I'm sometimes surprised that they don't like secondary, when they really don't like secondary characters.
That's interesting.
That happens. Some are really passionate about, because my main character, they usually really like my main character, of course, but sure. I don't want to populate my books just with likable characters. Right. There have to be some more edgy characters in the book. So they can't all be likable. They have to be a little bit different. And I do get that they say, oh, the best friend type of character, or I get that with love interest characters. Yeah. They don't like the love interest and the too much this or too much that.
Jealousy.
Yeah, I had someone with this book, City of Woe, I had someone say, oh, I hate that wife, kill her. And she hadn't done anything. I was like, kill her, what the hell? That's fantastic. Did you ever get an interaction or an email that sparked an idea for another cozy project or another episode or volume of that series?
Oh, I always have so many ideas.
Yeah.
There aren't enough hours in the day to write all
Mhm.
the books that I'd love to write. And I recently wrote a short story for an anthology, for a cozy mystery anthology. And it's a spin-off, Scottish Witches Mystery spin-off with a cat. Yeah, I have cats in the books, but they don't play a major part. But I wrote a short story with a cat as a main character, as a sleuth, a cat sleuth. And that was really fun and people really loved it. And so I was like, oh, I could write a spin-off series with that cat. I might do, but there's never enough time to do all the writing that
Yeah,
I'd love
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Speaking of time, I know it's now after 10 where you are, so I suspect at some point you would like some rest.
That's all
Um,
right. I'm not tired, which means your questions must be very interesting.
oh, nicely done. Nicely
Nicely
done.
done. Very well done.
Oh, wow. Okay. But I do want to, I was looking at the cover, by the way, of your book, and I see that there's a cat on the
Mhm.
cover. It's really, and very visual, very stimulating, very colorful cover. So you said a little while ago, though, that your audience is in America. So are cozy mysteries an American thing?
It's probably due to the setting. It's not just an American thing, but it's Americans love Scotland. And especially as my readership is largely female, and they love to dream themselves to Scotland. They would probably love to travel there too, but it's fairly
Yeah.
far
For
away.
my Sicilian wife, it's Ireland. She just,
Oh yeah.
yeah. No, she doesn't want to go there. She doesn't want to get anywhere near a plane. But all things Ireland capture
That's a
her
big
imagination.
Ireland is big too. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Another thing that you said was this, you just turned in the fifth manuscript to your publisher or your editor rather, because you're the publisher. Can you tell us, at least by titles or something, about the other books in the series?
Sure. So it's The Witch Club is book one. I didn't say this yet, but I should probably mention it because it's different to usual paranormal cozy mysteries. Every book has a different main character. Oftentimes in those types of series, it's the same protagonist going from adventure to adventure. But in this, it's maybe the coven is basically the main event. And in every book, there's a different witch with a different magical talent as the
Uh-huh.
protagonist. And so in book one, it's Andy and she has visions. In book two, it's called Herb Witch for Hire. Can show it.
There you go.
No, it blurred out
No,
there.
it's not. No.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah. Actually, sit
focus.
it right in front of you. See what happens if you put it right in front of your face.
There it is. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. See, you're the stasis field. Yeah. Okay.
It's an herb witch, and it's all about talents with herbs. And then the third book, let's try this again. That's working. It's
Mhm.
Cooking up a
up a
witch.
witch.
Cooking up a
Ooh.
witch, right?
So
Is
that's
he telling of
clearly
Hansel and Gretel? Yeah.
she's cooking. And then I don't have this here, but it's a witch through time. You can guess
Time
what that
traveler.
witch can do.
Yeah.
And the fifth book is called Witch in a Tempest. And so it's a weather witch. So
Cool.
the plot
So,
and what the witches can do determine the plot for the novel.
so the through line, the title through line is the word witch.
That's right.
And then
Which is
the
club,
rest of the
yeah.
titles give you a hint as to that particular slant. Now, for example, the first book, if I remember, the witch's name was Andy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Does she show up in the other books?
Yeah.
Yes.
She
So
reappears, yeah.
you develop this coven, this community that readers will, oh, there she is. Then run into, that's
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
And
well done. Very cool.
they're the main characters, but the coven, the mystery solving happens together in the coven. So
Mhm.
the other witches reappear.
And one other thought I have is oh boy, don't let me lose it now. Oh, I did lose it. Okay, never mind. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to ask for American audiences here who might be listening and whoever else in whatever other country, where are they available?
They are available on Amazon as ebooks, and paperbacks are also available on Amazon and everywhere else. They also
every other book buying platform. Fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I remembered my question. And actually it's a good coming back around too. So we know the books are available. I'm curious, 5 books. You just turned in number 5 to the editor. How long has the first book been out? And how long did it take you to write this series?
So the first book came out in February.
Of this year?
That's right.
Okay.
But the first 3 books were written before I published the first book.
There you go.
So since then, I've done book 4 and book 5. So.
And how long did it take you to write those first 3?
It takes me around from beginning, plotting, research to sending the book to the editor around 3 months, I would say.
3 months per book?
Yeah.
So I guess going back to Chris's business type questions, you put in 9 months working on the beginning of this series. Did you feel any kind of trepidation about, oh, I haven't put anything, how do I know that there's an audience for this? I'm putting time and money into producing these. I'm now going to have to put time and money into promoting these. Should I have sent one book out ahead to get a feel for it? How did you make those decisions?
Yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking. You're absolutely right. It's a lot of investment as well. Like we talked about getting covers, paying an editor. It's a lot of investment in advance. I did the novella, so I knew people liked the novella as a reader magnet for my newsletter. So I already had that. Then I started doing advanced reader copies, to get reviews. And so I had first feedback that things might go okay, that people like the book. So yeah, but it is definitely, it's nerve-wracking. That's true.
But you persevere.
A leap of faith.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what's called for. Yeah.
Or a really good spell. See what I did there? Hey.
Ding. Felicity, thank you so much for your time and your insight and your willingness to share so openly. That was really tremendous. You're fun to talk to.
Thank you for your interesting questions, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, our pleasure.
It's great having you. We wish you best success.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you won't resist too intensely if at some point down the line we invite you back to hear how
things are going.
Maybe with another series.
Sure.
I'm writing. I've started a new series, so it's also paranormal cozy mystery with ghosts. So that's the difference.
Okay. So witches now, ghosts later. Okay.
And then the 3rd series will be witches versus ghosts. Stay tuned. No.
Okay. Either way, thank you so much for your time. Really,
thank you.
Okay, and we'll let you know when this is coming out. And Chris, what do you always say to the wonderful people?
If you liked what you heard, and if you don't want to be turned into a newt, then you must like and subscribe. Hit the like button, subscribe, so you can remain unbewitched. There you go.
And there'll be a link in our comment section that'll lead to your books. And if you want, we can even put a link to your newsletter or to your lead.
That would be great.
Your newsletter, whichever you want.
You can put my website, and people will find the newsletter sign up with the reader magnet on the website.
Perfect.
All right. Why don't you tell us what the website is right now, and then we'll put the link in later.
FelicityGreenAuthor.com.
Oh,
there you go.
Look at that.
FelicityGreenAuthor.com.
I like that.
Right.
It rolls smoothly off the tongue. Yes,
it does.
Hey,
all right.
Everybody, you take care. Thanks very much.
Thanks again. Peace, everybody.